My husband failed me, so I found pleasure in strangers' arms. I never imagined I'd end up like this. Lying in bed, my body trembling, sore in ways I couldn't even describe, my mind torn between shame and something dangerously close to satisfaction. The echoes of last night haunted me like a flame licking at old paper, setting everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty on fire. But how did it come to this? Started with silence. Not the kind that fills a room after a fight, but the slow, creeping kind that slips between the sheets, settles in conversations, and wraps itself around a marriage until everything feels cold. My husband, once attentive and warm, had become distant. His touch became mechanical, his kisses dry and rushed. Sex, when it happened, felt more like a chore than a connection. I tried to talk to him to understand what had changed, but he always had the same excuses. Stress, deadlines, exhaustion. But deep inside I was starving. Starving for love, for passion, for someone to look at me like I was the only woman on earth. My body ached not just for sex, but for intimacy, for the kind of wild, raw need that made my heart race and my skin burn. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just a phase. But weeks turned into months. Nights passed in cold beds. I touched myself to feel something, anything, but even that felt empty. One night, I heard him whispering on the phone in the kitchen. His voice was low, the tone, flirtatious. Froze. My heart began to pound as I walked closer, careful not to make a sound. What I heard changed everything. Yeah, she doesn't even care anymore. I need to feel something again. You know how to make me feel alive. Alive. That word rang in my ears like a cruel joke. So he wanted to feel alive, just not with me. I didn't confront him. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I waited. I watched him leave the house more often. I noticed the way he smiled when texting. He thought I didn't know, but I did. And the truth stung like acid on open wounds. The man who once promised to protect me from the world now sought pleasure in someone else's arms. And the most painful part, I still loved him. But then something else happened, something darker, unexpected. He came home one night with a strange look in his eyes. There was no guilt, no apology, only a wicked grin that made my stomach twist. He said he had something for me. Surprise. You say I can't satisfy you, he said coldly, his voice sharp. Fine. I found someone who can. My breath hitched. My heart dropped. Before I could ask what he meant, the door opened, and in walked a man. Tall, dark-skinned, muscular beyond belief, eyes burning with confidence. My mouth went dry. He didn't say a word. He just stared, his gaze scanning me like I was prey. My husband sat on the couch, arms crossed. Let him show you what you've been missing, he said. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But a sick, curious fire sparked inside me. Maybe it was revenge. Maybe it was pain. Maybe I wanted to hurt him the way he hurt me. Or maybe I just wanted to feel something again. Anything. The man approached me slowly, towering over me. His hand brushed my waist. It was warm, rough, electric. My breath caught. His voice was deep, velvety. You sure about this? He asked. I didn't answer. Couldn't. I just nodded barely. That night was nothing like I expected. He didn't rush. That's what made it even more terrifying and thrilling. His hands moved with a purpose, tracing every curve of my body like he was memorizing it. His eyes stayed locked with mine, reading every reaction, every hesitation, every unspoken desire I'd buried for years. My knees felt weak, not from fear, but from the overwhelming pull of something I hadn't felt in so long, being wanted. My husband sat across the room, watching, silent. It made everything more intense, more humiliating, more unreal. I wanted to scream at him, slap him, ask him why he was doing this. But all I could do was breathe, shaky, shallow breaths, as this stranger slowly undressed me, layer by layer, stripping me not just of my clothes, but of the weight I'd carried for too long. He whispered things in my ear. Dirty, hot, possessive things. His voice was a weapon, low and commanding, sending shivers down my spine. His lips pressed against my neck, soft at first, then hungry. Gasp. My body betrayed me, responding even as my mind tried to fight it. His hands explored, confident and firm, teasing every sensitive spot I didn't even know I had. Then I saw it: him. The size. The shape. My breath hitched in disbelief. I'd never seen anything like it. Thick, dark, impossibly long. My body tensed, part fear, part anticipation. He noticed my reaction and smirked, the kind of smirk that said, "You're mine now." "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'll go slow, at first." And he did. First. But the slow burn didn't last long. Passion took over, wild and unrelenting. His body crashed into mine like a wave that wouldn't stop, drowning me in sensation. My back arched, clung to him. I cried out, not from pain alone, but from the overwhelming flood of emotion. Pain, yes, but also hunger, lust, release. He filled me completely, physically and emotionally, in ways I didn't think were possible. It was raw, messy, loud, cried. Not just from the stretch, the ache, but from everything I'd held in for so long. Every silent night, every cold shoulder, every lie. I let it all out under his weight, under his dominance. I clawed at him, begged. I lost myself. He didn't stop. Not for hours. All through the night he took me again and again, changing positions, angles, intensity. He made me scream. He made me whisper his name under my breath without realizing it. He made me forget my pain, and then made me feel it again, deeper, sharper. My body gave up. My soul unraveled. Could barely move. I remember glancing over at my husband once during it all. He was still watching. His jaw clenched. His eyes dark. I couldn't read him. Was it satisfaction? Jealousy? Regret? He didn't say a word. And I didn't care. Not anymore. By morning I was broken. My thighs trembled. My body ached. I couldn't even sit up straight. Every inch of me was sore, bruised, raw, and yet somehow alive. He kissed my forehead gently before leaving, as if he hadn't just destroyed me from the inside out. 2 days later, I still couldn't walk properly. The pain between my legs was a constant reminder of that night, a mix of shame and strange, twisted satisfaction. But the emotional pain, that hadn't gone anywhere. I tried to speak to my husband, to ask why, to beg for some explanation. But he just shrugged and said, "I thought that's what you wanted." Was it? I didn't know anymore. The days that followed were a blur. I moved slowly, not just because my body still throbbed with every step, but because my mind couldn't keep up with what I was feeling. I avoided mirrors. I couldn't look at myself without reliving every moan, every thrust, every shameful second of that night. It wasn't just the physical soreness. It was the ache inside my chest that hurt the most. I thought maybe my husband would come to me, hold me, explain that it was all some twisted lesson, some way to teach me something about loyalty or desire. But he didn't. He acted as if nothing had happened. He barely looked at me, let alone touched me. The silence between us returned, this time heavier than before. I wasn't sure if he hated me, or if he just didn't care. One evening, I stood in the shower for over an hour, scrubbing my skin like I could erase the memory. But the water didn't wash away the heat, the guilt, or the confusion. My mind kept replaying every moment. The way that man touched me, whispered to me, made me forget everything. I hated that part of me, enjoyed it. I hated that part of me, missed it. I was angry at him, my husband, myself. When I finally stepped out, I found my husband sitting at the table, drinking. His eyes were bloodshot. The tension in the room was suffocating. "You think you're different now?" he asked without looking up. "You think getting wrecked by some other man makes you better?" I stared at him, heart pounding. "You did this," I said softly. "You pushed me away." He stood up suddenly, knocking the chair back. "Don't blame me for what you let happen. You opened your legs and let him take you." My face burned. My heart cracked. Had no words. He stepped closer. His eyes filled with something dangerous. Did you enjoy it? He hissed. Did you moan for him? Did he give you what I couldn't? I looked away, tears forming. He grabbed my chin and forced me to meet his eyes. Say it, he growled. Tell me he was better. I didn't answer. Couldn't. His grip tightened before he suddenly let go. He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. I collapsed on the bed and cried. I cried until I couldn't breathe, until my throat was raw, until the pillow was soaked. I hated what I'd become. I hated that he made me feel like I was nothing. I hated that even after everything, I still longed for him to love me. But deep down, I also hated that he'd seen the pain in my eyes that night and chose to feed it instead of fix it. The next morning I found a message on my phone. A number I didn't recognize. You okay? Still thinking about you. It was him. The man from that night. The one who tore me apart and somehow left a piece of himself behind. I didn't reply at first. But I stared at that message for hours. I read it again and again. He didn't say much. Just a few words. But they pierced deeper than anything my husband had said in months. By nightfall I responded. Not okay. Don't know who I am anymore. His reply came within seconds. You're a woman who deserves to feel. I felt every inch of your pain that night. My heart stuttered. I didn't know why, but his words broke something inside me. And for the first time in a long time I felt seen. That week my husband barely came home. When he did, he slept on the couch. We didn't speak. We didn't fight. We just drifted like strangers sharing the same roof. I didn't tell him about the messages. I didn't tell anyone. But every night I messaged the man who had ruined me, and he replied with a kind of tenderness I wasn't ready for. Talk. About my pain. About his past. About desire, about loneliness, about broken people trying to heal. And somewhere in that late-night exchange of words, I realized. He didn't just see my body that night. He saw me. Days turned into a slow blur of pain, confusion, and desire I didn't know how to handle. My body had mostly healed, but my heart felt more damaged than ever. The silence between my husband and me was louder than any scream. He didn't ask questions. He didn't look at me the same. It was as if I had died the night he gave me to another man. But I was still breathing. And so was the fire that man had lit inside me. Every night the messages continued. Innocent at first, then darker. More tempting. More dangerous. Do you miss how I touched you? I dream about your voice when you screamed my name. You're not broken. You're starving. And I love feeding your hunger. I should have blocked him. I should have erased everything. But I didn't. I read those messages late at night with trembling fingers and burning cheeks. I clutched the sheets and remembered how his body felt pressed against mine. How he owned every inch of me without asking. He broke me, yes. But somehow, he also made me feel more alive than I ever had in my own marriage. And that thought terrified me. One afternoon my husband finally spoke. You've changed. I looked up from the sink, startled. You look different. Like you're somewhere else all the time. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Are you still talking to him? He asked. My silence was the answer. He laughed bitterly, running a hand down his tired face. Of course you are. Can't blame you. He gave you what I couldn't. That's not fair, I whispered, voice shaking. Fair, he scoffed. You think any of this is fair? There was a pause. A long suffocating pause. Then he said something I didn't expect. Do you want to see him again? My chest tightened. What? I'll allow it, he said. Just once more. But I want to be there. I want to watch again. Froze. The room spun. Why? I whispered. He didn't answer. Just walked away. And that's when I realized. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about power. Control. He wanted to punish me again. Or maybe punish himself. Either way, I agreed. Part of me wanted closure. Part of me wanted more. That night the man returned. Bigger. Colder. More dominant than before. His hands didn't hesitate. His eyes locked onto mine like a storm that had found its target. The air was heavy with tension and lust and something even darker, unresolved anger. "You came back," he said with a crooked smile. "Good." And then he touched me. Not like a lover, like a force, like a storm breaking open my body and soul again. My husband sat nearby, his fists clenched. His eyes were unreadable. The man didn't hold back. There was no slow build this time. He flipped me, pulled my hair, whispered filthy things into my ear while driving himself deeper than I thought possible. Every motion, every sound, every slap of skin was louder than my thoughts. Cried out. Begged. I shook uncontrollably. "Let him hear," the man said darkly. "Let him hear what you sound like when you're full. When you're owned." Tears streamed down my face. Part pain, part humiliation, part shameful ecstasy. My body betrayed me again, giving in to the relentless pleasure even as my heart screamed in protest. He finished inside me, biting my shoulder, marking me, claiming me. When it was over, he left without a word. My body trembled, ruined. My husband didn't move. We didn't speak for hours. Then he finally looked at me. "You cried," he said. "But you didn't say no." I turned away. He stood up and punched the wall so hard it cracked. "I hate what we've become," he said through gritted teeth. "I hate that I let this happen. I hate that I can't stop thinking about you with him. But most of all, I hate that part of me still wants you." Broke then. The tears I'd held in for days came flooding out. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. My heart felt like it had been ripped out and thrown at my feet. We fought. We screamed. We blamed each other. We said things that couldn't be unsaid. Then we held each other. Two broken people clinging to the ashes of something that used to be called love. The next morning we didn't speak. We just moved through the house like ghosts trapped inside a silent war zone. I watched him drink his coffee. His jaw clenched, eyes dark with thoughts I couldn't reach. My legs still ached. My heart still bled. But it was the silence between us that hurt the most. When he left for work, I stayed curled in bed, clutching a pillow like it could somehow hold the broken pieces of me together. My phone buzzed. I hesitated, then reached for it. "You feel it too, don't you? That fire we lit." I stared at the screen, shaking. Why did I respond? "I don't know who I am anymore." His answer came instantly. "You're mine. You just don't want to admit it yet." That one message stayed in my head all day. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't forget his touch. The way his voice dropped when he whispered filth into my ear. The heat of his skin. The roughness. The raw, unfiltered need. He didn't just use me, he devoured me. And even through my pain, part of me craved more. That evening my husband came home early. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes bloodshot. He sat down, not looking at me. "I met someone today," he said coldly. The words hit like a slap. "What?" He didn't flinch. "She's young. Smart. Wants me." My chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because maybe you're not the only one who needs to feel again." I stared at him. The man I married. The one who used to make me feel safe. No. I didn't even recognize him. "You hate me that much," I whispered. He shook his head slowly. "No. I loved you that much." The words broke something inside me. He stood up and walked past me without another word. The door to the guest room clicked shut. And just like that I knew. We were done pretending. The next day I found myself walking in circles, lost inside my own mind. His messages kept coming. Hotter, darker, more demanding. "You want to see me again. Let me own you again. All night. No watching this time. I want you hungry. But crying for me." I tried to resist. But my fingers typed what my heart denied. "Where?" "My place. Tonight. No rules. Just us." That evening I stood outside his door, my body trembling. Shame. Guilt. Lust. All crashing like waves inside me. When he opened the door, his eyes dragged over me like fire licking skin. You came, he smirked. I knew you would. I stepped inside. The room was dimly lit. Candles flickered on the edges. The air was thick with tension, with promise, with something dangerous. He walked toward me slowly, like a hunter circling his prey. No husband, he whispered. No eyes watching. Just you and me. Then he kissed me. Hard. Possessive. His hand slid down my waist, lifting my dress. His mouth moved against my neck, biting, claiming, burning paths that sent shocks through my spine. He whispered things, dirty, filthy things that made my knees weak. He laid me down and undressed me like I was a secret he needed to expose. I dreamed of this, he said, running his hands along every curve. The way your body shakes, the way you scream. He slid inside me slowly, grunting at the tightness. Still ruined for anyone else. I moaned loud, raw, uncontrollable. He moved deep, strong, relentless. Hours passed. He didn't stop. On the floor, against the wall, bent over the table, crying, shaking, begging. He broke me again and again, and I let him. Because in that moment I wasn't thinking. I wasn't surviving. I was feeling. When it was over, I lay on the bed, breathless, sore, shattered. He brushed my hair from my face, kissed my neck. Don't go back to him, he whispered. I'm still married. You're still unhappy. I didn't answer. 'Cause he was right. I can make you forget him. All of him. Tears slid down my cheek. I didn't even know what I was crying for anymore. The pain. The pleasure. The wreckage of who I used to be. He kissed me softly. And in that moment, I felt seen again. But what I didn't know then, was that someone had followed me. Someone had watched me walk into that apartment. And soon, someone would make me pay. The days that followed were nothing short of torment. I stayed locked inside the house, curtains drawn, afraid to see the light, ashamed of what I had become. My phone buzzed with notifications I dared not open. Whispers from people who had seen the video, people who now knew me not for my name, but for the moans echoing through that screen. But somewhere in the silence, a fire sparked. They wanted to destroy me. They succeeded, but only in killing the old me. Now something darker was born. I started small. I gathered every piece of evidence I had. I downloaded the video. I collected text messages, voice notes, receipts. I mapped their betrayal with surgical precision. Then I reached out to a woman I had long forgotten. My lawyer friend, the one who handled messy divorces and uglier secrets. You need help, she said after hearing everything. No, I corrected her. I need justice. The divorce papers arrived quickly. He thought I would be broken, begging. I signed them with a smile. He left me the house. Guilt, I assumed. Or maybe pity. But I turned it into my headquarters. Every room now held pieces of my plan. And the man who seduced me. I hadn't forgotten him either. I found out where he lived. A new city, new woman. But I also discovered his past. He'd done this before. Traps, setups, blackmail. He wasn't just a pawn. He was a predator. So I hired someone. A woman, strong, beautiful, seductive. Her mission. The same he used against me. It didn't take long. Within a week I had photos. Videos. Him begging on his knees. Saying things he once whispered to me. I sent the clips to him anonymously. No message. No warning. Let him feel the burn. My ex-husband's reputation began to crumble next. I went to his workplace, under the guise of returning a forgotten item. What I really left was a USB drive in a drawer. One that contained the full scandal. Emails, footage, betrayal. Leaked within days. He was demoted. His team turned cold. His phone, once his weapon, now a chain dragging him down. He called me, of course. Dozens of times. I never answered. Posted a photo instead. One where I smiled, wearing a red dress, lips painted fire, eyes sharp. Caption. Pain didn't kill me. It crowned me. The likes flooded in. One night, alone in my bed. I remembered how it started. The hunger. The longing to be seen. No. I didn't crave touch. Craved power. And I used it. Men lined up in my inbox. Some to comfort, others to conquer. I entertained a few briefly. But I never gave them all of me. Not again. Until one man arrived. Different. Quiet. Intense. He didn't ask for sex. He asked about my soul. He found the broken girl inside the warrior. And I hated that I wanted him. We met at a quiet rooftop bar. Rain fell gently, the city glowing beneath us. You're beautiful, he said. But it's your pain that speaks loudest. I blinked. No one had ever said that. Talk. Hours passed. He didn't rush. Didn't grab. Just listened. When he finally leaned in, his kiss was soft. Careful. Healing. Melted. But when he touched my hand, I flinched. You're still healing, he said. I'll wait. It scared me how much I wanted him to wait. The final twist came weeks later. A knock on my door. I opened it, and there stood my ex, thin, tired, desperate. Please, he whispered. Everything's falling apart. I stepped aside. Let him sit. Let him speak. I never stopped loving you, he confessed. I just didn't know how to handle your hunger. So I fed it to someone else. I listened. Every word a dagger. When he reached for my hand, I pulled back. I'm not yours anymore, I said. He broke. Right there. On my floor. And I felt nothing. Later that night, I called the man from the rooftop. I'm ready, I whispered. He arrived within minutes. There was no rush, no pain, no revenge. Just slow hands. Lips that learned every scar. Eyes that saw me, not my past. And when we made love, it wasn't loud. It was silent. Sacred. I cried, not from pain but from release. Afterward he held me close. You survived, he said. No, I whispered, resting against his chest. I rose.